This relates to a rule that is extremely unpopular. The taunting rule, which wasn't a new rule. It was just a point of emphasis. They had a press conference yesterday. Rich McKay and Troy Vincent were there to answer questions. Here's a voice you may recognize asking Troy Vincent about the NFL's new focus on calling any and all potential taunting fouls.
I mean, we all saw Tyreek throw up the peace sign at the Bills defenders and not get called. Did y'all do the other way of we missed this many calls that should have been called for taunting?
Yes, ma'am, and Tyreek was one that was missed. So we looked at both. The Tyreek Hill play that you were talking about, that was a missed call, should have been called. And then there was a few, I remember there was a Watt play in Pittsburgh that him and someone else in the Baltimore game. But it's important to acknowledge, and the video is the ultimate, that's where we all can look at it and say, this is what we want, this is what we don't want. So we understand the fans feel, but it goes back to the players know. And it just leads to bad outcomes, and the game becomes personal ball, and then that's what you don't want.
The context there was that the NFL was basically bragging about how they believe that the vast majority of the taunting fouls that were called were proper calls, that there weren't mistakes, that there wasn't over-officiating. Shireen Williams, who asked the question, her point was, but you did have some examples of under-officiating where there was taunting that wasn't called. And, we had been given tips by people when we were doing the Wednesday official review segment where after further review, that's what we called it. Yes, thank you. How quickly we forget. But there had been like some taunting, some Cassius Marsh-style stuff away from the ball that wasn't flagged. So plenty of examples if they wanted to look for them. And you would have to really scour the film to find all the times where someone was taunting and it wasn't called. But there was plenty of stuff like that. So that's one of my big criticisms. It's fine if you're going to call it, but you got to call it all the time. You can't say we want to take these behaviors out of the game and we're going to throw this 15-yard foul and we're going to change field position dramatically if you're missing blatant examples of it, like the one we just saw when Tyreek Hill was farther away from the end zone than Matt Milano and still threw up the deuces and still beat him to the goal line. You have to call that as well. That was the most glaring example, but there were others that weren't called.
No, definitely,
And then maybe that's where Sky Judge comes into play to help fix that. They aren't changing Sky Judge to encompass that, but that's the challenge. You got to call it fairly. You got to call it equally. And the problem is because the rule's so unpopular, anytime somebody points out, hey, they missed a taunting foul, like, oh, get off my lawn. Oh, we shouldn't call that. But no, that's not the point. Yes, we agree with you. They shouldn't call it. But if you're going to call it at all, you got to call it whenever it happens, or it's not fair to the team that doesn't get
that does it the right way.
Field position.
Right. Yeah. The inconsistency drove us crazy all year long, and we know, because of the after further review Wednesday segment that we did during the season. I mean, we had coaches reaching out, people reaching out. I mean, that was bothering them. It was that. So I think I look at that aspect of the inconsistencies. You're right. You got to call it every time, even though you don't like it. Right. And again, what I would want to know is like, wait, if Tyreek Hill didn't look at Matt Milano, is he cool to put the deuces up that way? Is he cool to do that? That's what I would want to know too, because again, I don't want to take total fun out of the game. And that's where, inconsistency was problem one. And then I felt like the other issue we had was the over-officiating of it. Again, going back to the Cassius Marsh thing. And there was a ton of other examples like that too, where you went, listen, this is not taunting. This is a guy celebrating, or this is just a quick emotion of like the guy said, screw you, and he got up and was like, screw you, I'll be back again the next play. Like, that's not taunting. Like, that's where they crossed the line. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, that is still unbelievable. Okay,
but it wasn't the kick; it was that. That's what drew it.
Okay, I know.
That's what drew it.
I know, right? but see, to your point though. This is to your point. I could go through every game and look at almost every game and see a receiver catch a ball and stand up and stare at the other team's sideline and be like, yeah, what? I just got 20 yards. Screw it. Now, so then call it all the time, to your point. That's where, to me, there's got to be some line there, and it was just all over the place last year.
Here's one that was called a foul that shouldn't have been. Is that what it was? That was called a
Wait.
foul.
So this is the one they don't want to call. Here's TJ Watt, man junk up in his face, and he's talking to him. He's putting his man junk literally up against his back and then putting it in his face. And that's the one they're going to say that's okay? They're cool with that? That to me, see, this is where here we are. We are day one, and I'm already going, what? Stand over him, look at him, saying something, putting his man junk in his face. That's okay.
And
okay.
I'm confused. Are we sure that's the one Troy Vincent was talking about? Because that seems to be exactly. Hang on, Pete. Pete, let me finish. It looks exactly like what they don't want him to do. Oh, God, why are they trying to confuse us with this? That is precisely what they don't want. They don't want a guy in someone's face. I'm not going to use the man junk thing, although I just did.
You just did.
But not in your head,
Welcome.
right in his face. That right there, when he does that with his head.
Yeah.
Yes. That seems to be what they don't want.
I that's where I'm confused by it. That's the one. So the Cassius Marsh thing that was okay, but that one where a guy's actually taunting a person 3 inches from his face and his private parts. So I don't know. Maybe we are wrong.
I have a feeling Troy Vincent misspoke.
Okay.
Gut feeling. Because when he was rattling them off and he kind of moved on real quickly,
right.
and I kind of thought maybe he misspoke, because that can't be an example of a mistake. That seems to be a textbook example of what they're trying.
Yeah, I bet you're
out
right, Mike. But he's a guy that's got a lot of plays in his head. He probably got it confused.
Yeah. Vincent said that. I know that's what he said. I don't think that's what he meant. I'm going to make that assessment because that can't be not taunting. Because if that's not taunting, then 80% of the calls last year were wrong.
Yeah.
Because
right.
The whole idea is, because people are like, why, no fun league guy. You don't want to cross a line into something that pisses someone off to the point where they are going to try to settle the score later in the game, whether it's after the play or during the play. I'm going to go after someone and hit this. See, I think that's what it comes down to. I'm going to have an opportunity at some point in this game to take a clean legal shot at a guy that I otherwise wouldn't. But you know what? I can now, and I'm going to, because he pissed me off earlier because he had his man junk dangling in my face, to use your
way to join the club.
Yes. So I'm gonna go blast him now, and it's not a foul for me to do it, and I'm not starting a fight after the play, but I got a chance to go put him on his ass, and I'm gonna go do it because he disrespected me earlier in the game. I think that
definitely
is what they're trying to avoid.
Definitely. The marked man, the headhunter, whatever you want to say it is in the NFL. It's a real thing. I mean, it really is. So, guys talking trash, whatever, you're right. Even within the legal limits of the game, talk trash, say the wrong thing, that guy is going to look for his opportunity, the smart players, to do it within the legal rules, to go, well, I'm going to get my shot and let this guy know what he said to me. I didn't like it, and prove my point. That's exactly what they're trying to stop in the NFL. They're trying to stop that. They're trying to stop it from carrying over to meeting number 2. I can't tell you how many times, Mike, I played in games or part of a team where one team did illegal blocks or talked too much crap in a game, and then we play them, a division rival, maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, and we put a hit out on them. Hey, we're going to run this play and toss crack on this defense end because he illegally hit our quarterback or talked too much crap last week, whatever it was. And now we're gonna let them know that, we remembered and we're going to take our shot. That's what they want out of the game. You're exactly right.
Well, and it's even broader than that. I think part of what we've seen since the NFL had its concussion epiphany in October of 2009 was forced by involvement of Congress to wake up to the issue of head trauma and what it can do to somebody short-term and long-term. And the NFL began trying to take unnecessary contact out of the game. There's a certain amount of necessary contact that is unavoidable. But the NFL began very slowly and gradually carving away things that it believes is unnecessary to the game. And what otherwise would be a legal hit on someone, a legal, not an illegal, but a legal hit on someone, away from the play, under whatever circumstance where you really don't need to go do it, if you're giving someone an incentive to go do it, that adds that one incremental bit of physical contact. And with each incremental bit of physical contact, somebody can get injured, somebody can get a concussion, somebody whatever. And so it's a combination of taking concussion seriously and justifying a 17th and eventually an 18th game. Iron out any and all unnecessary contact. These types of incidents and exchanges generate potential unnecessary contact because it pisses someone off who lies in wait and wants that opportunity to go blast a guy later.
Hey,
all right, let's go.
And to your, just real quick to button this up. Oh, guess what? Concussions were down last year. They're already laying down the train tracks for that 18-game season, making sure you know. 17 games, concussions went down. 18, we'll be fine, no problem. Add another game on the list.
I got one more thing to say about overtime, too, a prediction that I'm going to make. I made it on PFTPM, but I want to run it by you, and I know we got to take a break. But I think what's going to happen eventually, regular season overtime is going to go back to straight sudden death. I think it's going to happen. Here's why. They're going to want to have those games even shorter.
Yeah, right.
Because eventually you're going to start dropping them on Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're going to have 6 days, 5 days more often between games.
Yep.
You got to shorten these games. I already shortened overtime from 15 to 10 minutes because of the Thursday night blowback when the Falcons went nearly 75 minutes against the Raiders. No, it was the Bucs had to go nearly 75 minutes against the Raiders and then had to play 4 nights later and got destroyed by the Falcons. I think we're going to see sudden death back in the regular season at some point when they're ready to start scheduling games on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights on a regular basis.
Makes sense.
That's coming. So
makes sense. I like where your head's at.
If it never happens, forget about it. If it happens, remember this day, March 30, 2022.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.